I'm Debbie Funderburg, and this presentation is on learning through virtual field trips and virtual museums. To start off, you'll notice that I used really bright colors. The reason that I chose these colors was because these are the colors that I'm going to use in my new classroom. I have chosen these because I'm teaching fourth graders, and most of them like bright colors and respond well to that. So I want the room to be cheerful and bright. There's only one window in that room, and it's in one corner. It's kind of a small window, so there's not a lot of natural light. And so I just wanted to brighten up the room as much as I could, so I chose those colors. And when I started making this PowerPoint, I decided that I would go with that. Learning through virtual field trips and virtual museums, the why, what, and when. Why are virtual field trips and museums useful for teachers? Integrating technology in our classrooms of today is imperative. This is the way that students live their lives. They are not scared of technology. They embrace technology. They find it fun, and it makes it easier for them to learn. Using these kinds of field trips and museums bring lessons to life and create interest to keep students engaged. There's no question that seeing something on a screen is the way to go with students of today. They like to see the action happening, and this is one way that you can do that. The logistics and convenience would sometimes keep that from happening if you were planning a regular field trip. There's no way that you could take a classroom of students across the world or across the country or sometimes even across town. There's so many things that are involved in getting a field trip together, and sometimes the logistics of just planning the trip is too much to make that happen. The expense is one of those obvious things. Clicking on something online is a lot less expensive than putting students on a bus and paying drivers and buying fuel and all the expenses that go into transporting students to other places. The flexibility is so much better with these. These kinds of trips don't have to be planned a long way in advance. They can be, but they don't have to be. They can be spur of the moment, or they can have been planned into your lesson plans way in advance. Either way, you're okay when it's a virtual trip. Safety is another issue that's much easier in the virtual world because the students are still safe inside the confines of their school and their classroom. So you don't have the safety issues that you have when you take students out into the world and have to keep up with all of them and watch after them and see after their safety every minute that you're out. What do virtual field trips and museums help teachers accomplish? They allow authentic learning activities tied to standards by showing realistic context. Real-world applications are illustrated, and aids in differentiated learning by using audio, video, and text, and providing alternatives to traditional classroom learning for multiple intelligences. As we all know, it's really important to tie everything that we provide in our classrooms to the Common Core state standards. These trips, virtual trips, are easily tied to the standards by showing the realistic context and illustrating real-world applications. These real-world applications especially are so much easier when you're taking your students on one of these virtual trips because all the work's been done for you. All you provide is the show, and the students are able to see what really goes on in a lot of different situations. And aiding in the different learning styles and the multiple intelligences is definitely a given with these virtual trips because it helps with students who need to really see how things work, need to watch something, and then the text can also be incorporated into that. Hearing something on the audio just makes it so much better for different students because they all get something different. When should teachers incorporate virtual trips to museums into learning? The answer to that is anytime. These trips can be used to introduce a new unit, to use as a hook to get students interested in what's coming up in a new unit, or they can be used to create interest and give more detail during a unit that's already been introduced. They also can be used as an activity when the whole classroom is involved in a whole group learning experience, or cooperative learning groups can be assigned different field trips or different museums, and then those groups could report back to the rest of the class on what they learned by reflecting on what they saw and what they learned in those trips. There's just really not a bad time to use one of these trips in the classroom. These are links to 2 great articles about the benefits of virtual field trips and museums to use in education. It shows how students can take an educational journey without ever leaving the classroom. These trips expose children to experiences that are otherwise impossible. There are a lot of places that we can take students to give them real experiences, but there are so many others that would be impossible. We can take students to see what lives deep down close to the ocean floor, or we can take students out into space to see the planets up close and see things that there's no way we could take them on an actual trip. These articles help show and help explain how some of that is possible with these virtual trips.